So this is a new version of the video I did the other day on will the Iran-Israeli conflict result in World War III? I guess the way I talked about it, people misunderstood, and they thought I was saying that it becomes a world war that America enters. No, it doesn't. For example, World War One was World War One from August of 1914 because you had the major powers of the British Empire, French Empire, German Empire, Austro-Hungarian Empire, and Russian Empire all at it. That made it a world war because you had the definition of a world war is if all or at the very least a majority of the world powers are in conflict. So a majority of them were. And Japan joined in the World War One also to pick off some German colonies, and eventually the U.S. showed up kind of late at the party, but there it was. At least they showed up. World War Two, much the same thing. It was a world war from the time um, within days of the invasion of Poland in September of 1939, when France and England declared war on Germany, and of course the Russians were involved too, because the Soviet Union also invaded Poland along with Nazi Germany as part of the Ribbentrop Pact, but the Germans did start the process ball rolling. So, and then, of course, at that time, the Japanese Empire was also at war with China. Um, and I guess China wasn't really a great power then, but certainly was a player, a regional player. So that kind of made it a world war. Of course, it got even bigger with, when, of course, Russia oh yeah, Italy was involved in the war too on the German side, and I guess they were a medium power too. But so when the Soviet Union was invaded by Germany in 1941, that really made it just continue to build on the fact that it was already a world war, and then just expanded outward from there. And then, of course, Japan attacked the Americans, and that made that part of the war, that regional Pacific War between Japan and China, and joined up with the rest of the war to create this massively grown world war. But no, it didn't. The implication that America has to be in it before it's a world war is wrong. As long as you have a majority of major powers, so technically, the 7 Years' War was a world war, and so was the Napoleonic Wars, although they were not called world wars, but they did involve the majority of the world power or major powers of the world at that time in them. So there we have it. So looking at the current situation between Iran and Israel, even if America is drawn into it, it's not a world war, even though all the media pundits, both mainstream, which I expect because I always like to look for clickbait, but also the alternative medias, which shocked me, like when Russell Brand talked about it, implying that America gets involved, it is world war, and somehow implied that then everybody would jump in on it. But there's a huge difference between today and World War One, which he alluded to. Um, Today, Iran does not have a formal military alliance with either the Russian Federation or the People's Republic of China, these being the other two major superpowers out there. So there's no way they would become involved. First of all, Russia's already tied up in the Ukraine, and that's sort of grinding away there. So it doesn't have the resources to do much of anything else beyond that at this point. And China's just out to make a buck. I mean, China is very much a pragmatist. It hasn't fought a war since 1978 when it fought against the Vietnamese and lost, like everybody else who fought against the Vietnamese. That's something you don't do. It's attack Vietnam. They just want to make a buck. They want to trade with the European Union, want to trade with America, they want to trade with Russia, with India, with well, everybody else on this planet because that's what they're into, making money. They are very much a commercial enterprise. They always kind of were in that sense, other than the brief era with Mao Zedong running things. And like I said, the Russians are otherwise occupied, so they're not going to go in to defend Iran, nor will anybody else, other than sort of local regional powers like the Houthis and uh, and then the Hamas and Palestine and the Hezbollah up in Lebanon. So it's not going to be a world war, even if America joins in. Besides, also, Iran has no nuclear weapons. So if anybody uses a nuke, it'll be the Israelis blowing up Tehran or something else like that. And that again, there'll be horror, a lot of dying and stuff like that. It'd be ugly out there, but it's not going to turn into an all-out global nuclear war. All the Russians and Chinese will do is make UN resolutions to condemn Israel, which the Americans will veto. There we have it. So don't worry, World War III is not going to happen in the Mid East, starting there. If it's going to start anywhere, it's going to start either in the Ukraine or over Taiwan. So please like and subscribe and comment below.